What's up? This is Brandon London, and you're listening to the Big Blue UK and Ireland podcast. You hear that? The Big Blue UK and Ireland podcast. Let's go, Giants.
Good evening. Welcome back, Giants fans, to the latest edition of the Big Blue UK and Ireland podcast in association with Annie's Man Club. Lads, it's okay to talk, as we do here every week. This time we are 100% British, as you can kind of see, but absolutely still 100% Giants. Both Shane and Kev are unavailable this week. So it's myself, producer Craig, and a special guest. A new signing to the roster, undrafted rookie free agent out of Cardiff in Wales, in Welsh Wales. Welcome to podcast, Jamie. How you doing, mate?
I'm good, thank you. How are you both doing? You all right?
All good, mate. Busy. Had a busy long week of work, but always love to come on and chat Giants, and it's kind of my highlight of the week at the moment. So yeah, glad to be here. Looking forward to the weekend. Looking forward to Monday night. Which we'll come on to shortly. So, yeah, gotta love talking Giants football, and it's nice to have someone different to talk to as well. So, welcome, Bruce Craig. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, all good. You know, getting fired up for Monday night. If we can get fired up for Monday night, it's it's not the best kind of build up, is it, at the moment? And things aren't exactly rosy, but yeah, we've got to think positively. It's still early. It's still a chance to turn it around. We're not mid-season form yet. You know, as we were talking beforehand, we don't have to start looking at mock drafts and trade scenarios just yet. You know, we've still got time. So, yeah, looking forward to it.
Unless your name's Shane, because I'm no doubt he's probably already at that point where he's ready to pull the trigger. And do I do it? Do I do it? You know, he loves himself a mock draft. So, you know, I think if we lose this week, right, that's it. He's thrown in the towel, and mock drafts come in on Tuesday morning, no doubt, from him. So, yeah, looking forward to Monday night. It'll be an interesting game against the Seahawks, and you know, it's week 4 of the season, but is it a must win already? Potentially a must win. You know, we'll bring you the preview of our of the game against the Seahawks coming up shortly. Third primetime game in 4 weeks, incidentally, which can't complain about that. But, you know, primetime record recently hasn't been something to shout home about. But before we get into the game, coming up in just 3 short weeks, we've got our London meetup in London at the Sports Bar and Grill in Marylebone alongside the New York Giants Fans UK group. Again, the game against the Washington Commanders, 22nd October at 5 p.m. Kickoff, because is it a 5 p.m. kickoff? No, it's 6 p.m. kickoff, isn't it? But we're meeting up at 5. Is that right, Craig?
Mm-hmm.
I think so.
Yeah, it's
yeah. I saw the 5 p.m. there, and I thought 5 p.m. kickoff. No, it's a 5 p.m. meet, and we're kickoff 6 o'clock. Clocks go back the following week, I believe. But yeah, if you plan on coming along, let us know. Comment on our post on our social networks, so on Facebook, on Twitter. And you know, we'll put your name on the list, and you could be in with a chance to win yourself some prizes. So we've got a gift voucher for usasports.co.uk, our partners, who have also given us a discount code to get 15% off your entire order. Use the code Big Blue in the checkout, and get yourself some Giants gear or some other US sports merch of your choosing. And also, where there's going to be some podcast merch up for grabs as well. So if your name's on the list, you'll be entered into that draw. And are we going to do that draw on the night, Craig? Probably will.
Yeah, we'll play it by ear. I've just got one quick thing to add as well, and it's a bit of a rally call, because we have been contacted by the Commanders UK group, who apparently have a fair amount of guys who are willing to come down and watch it with us. So we really, really don't want to be outnumbered by those. So, make sure you get yourself down. If you're in London, get yourself down, come and have fun with us. We've got a really, really cool little setup that's been put aside for us, which is awesome. Kev's going to be buying drinks for people in legacy shirts. So I've definitely got my Big Cat one pressed and ready to go.
I've got my Tibbs jersey ready to go, mate. And obviously, after last week's defeat at the hands of San Francisco, obviously I don't have to buy a drink for everyone because that was our what if the Giants win. But luckily I don't have to buy a drink for everyone. But we're all going to be there. Kev's buying the drinks because we're all going to be wearing legacy jerseys. So come down, join the fun, and come watch some football with us. Because what more could you want to do on a Sunday night, right? Exactly. All right. So on Monday night, it's the Eli Manning revenge game, and it's also a return of Julian Love to MetLife as well, as Geno Smith and his Seattle Seahawks come to town to MetLife on Monday Night Football in what's shaping up to be a very intriguing game. So far this season, the fourth longest serving head coach, Pete Carroll, has seen the Seahawks open up the season with a pretty surprising loss to their divisional rival Los Angeles Rams. It's 30-13. Week 2 brought a hard-fought overtime win over the Detroit Lions, over improving Detroit Lions, who we saw in the preseason and looked pretty good in the preseason as well. And they've looked not too bad so far as well. But that was thanks to Geno Smith and Tyler Lockett. And then last weekend, they came up against the Andy Dalton-led Carolina Panthers. And with most Andy Dalton-led teams, the Carolina Panthers end up losing. So, yes, the Seahawks sit at 2-1. I could stand up for a fellow redhead, but let's face it, the Panthers put up a decent fight up until the fourth quarter, and then Kenneth Walker sort of made and ended up having 17 carries for 97 yards and 2 touchdowns. Defensively, the Seahawks improved, regained some of that bend don't break mentality that they had last season, with the Panthers actually reaching the red zone once as well. So, we come up against an improving defense this weekend, and an offense that Geno Smith, he won Comeback Player of the Year last year. Granted, he didn't really come back from anything apart from being dog shit in the first place. But he's now decided to actually up his game and become a half decent quarterback. We got an interesting matchup coming this weekend. But let's talk more about that offense, producer Craig. What are we up against?
Well, Geno Smith kind of has looked more like he did last season in their last 2 games. His yards per average has now gone up from 4.3 in game week 1 to 8 in game week 2, and then 8.2 last week. 4 touchdowns on the season, which is the same amount that he had last year. Lockett has 2, Metcalf has 1, and Jake Bobo, who has 1.
I'm sorry, who?
Yeah, exactly. Undrafted rookie free agent, I think. Metcalf has been his go-to.
Jake Bobo.
Interesting. Metcalf has been his go-to receiver once again. DK already has 234 yards on 15 receptions to go with his touchdown. He's 131 yards in front of their second highest receiver, which is Tyler Lockett, and has 15.6 yards per reception, which is not great reading. Rushing-wise, Walker is their lead back after his 1,113-yard, 10-touchdown season last year. And he hasn't shown signs of slowing down. 204 yards and 4 touchdowns for him on the ground already. Rookie backup, Zach Charbonnet, who the Seahawks selected in the second round, has been his backup, but limited. I think Walker's taken the sort of lion's share of the snaps so far. Offensive line, they've kind of been a bit... kind of like the Giants, on the rotation. They haven't really been healthy. They've been without Charles Cross since week 1. However, there is a chance that he returns to the field in week 4, and it kind of sounds like, from what Pete Carroll was saying, that's a potential. And they're going to want him back. Tackles Jake Curran and Stone Forsyth, what a name, struggled against the Panthers' pass rush. So, they're going to want to shore that up. So we'll start off, Jamie, introduce you into the world of Big Blue UK and Ireland with a question. So, Seahawks handed the Giants their second loss of the season last year, but were able to hold their rushing and passing attack relatively in check. Do we trust Banks and Hawkins, our rookie corners on the outside, to curtail Metcalf and Lockett?
Do you know what? I think they've been our bright sparks, and that shows where we are as a secondary. I think is the fact that two rookies, especially one being a 7th rounder, it's probably been our most solid corners. However, we've seen that Metcalf is a beast. We've been penalised, I think, 4 or 5 times this year for PI, and they're quite lengthy, costly ones. And it's one of those ones, isn't it, where we haven't been great. Our defense this year has not been great. They're putting up points and we're conceding them quite often. I'm going to be optimistic. Come on, it's my first time. Yes, they can do it. Yes, they can do it. Banks will have the money in the bank. He'll be fine.
What about you, Dad? What are your thoughts on this?
He'll have DK in his pocket, mate, won't he? When you've got a lot like, Deontay Banks, he's a lockdown corner so far. He's proven he's a lockdown corner so far. And you got on the other side promising rookies, so like you said, 7th round pick, Trey Williams. I mean, I've got full faith that Seattle won't have much luck on the outside because those two are playing lights out coverage. They've really impressed me so far in the 3 weeks. We've not been exactly been up against bad teams in terms of offenses. We've not been up against we've been up against Dallas, who I know we pretty much just bent over and let them score on us. But and then we're up against San Francisco last week, and we all know how good their offense is. Tay Banks has the 3rd lowest passer rating allowed amongst all rookie corners so far this season. He allowed 52 yards receiving on 13 targets for a quarterback rating of 77.1. I mean, Deontay Banks is looking very much like the 1st round pick that we chose, 24th overall. And what more can you say about him that hasn't been said already? He just looks like an absolute stud. And I'm not surprised that Adori's been pushed into the nickel spot. So he's on pace, and he's on pace to give up 416 receiving yards this season. To put that in perspective, Sauce Gardner, last year's Defensive Rookie of the Year, gave up 452 yards receiving. So if Tay Banks give up 416 yards, I think Shane is potentially onto a winner with his little wager of Tay Banks earning Defensive Rookie of the Year. I think the risk, though, in the coverage is in the box and it's through the middle. I think Seattle we're giving up an average of 223 yards per game through the air, which is bang in the middle of the league ratings. When you bear that in mind, like I said, we've come up against Dallas, we've come up against the 49ers in the first 3 weeks. We've only given up 3 touchdowns through the air. You've got to give credit to that secondary so far. Yeah. So yes, I think I think they can stop Metcalf. They can stop Tyler Lockett, and I think our secondary can definitely hold their own. But here's another one though. So the Seattle O-line's given up 5 sacks and 10 tackles for loss through the first 3 weeks, which is, again, it's kind of average across the league. Do you see our pass rush improving this week?
I think they need to step it up big time. Was it the stat we saw about we were blitzing? Was it over 80% of the time? And we've seen reports with Kayvon Thibodeau not necessarily being as productive, and he's only had 1 sack through the season so far. We're missing Azeez Ojulari, and that sounds daft because he has been injury prone. But you can never have too many people blitzing or coming off the edge and stuff. We haven't seen the best of Dexter Lawrence yet. But is that because people are paying more attention to him? But it's unfair, like you say, about the secondary. The secondary are holding up, considering that the pressure they're under, because there's nothing up front for them. We're, like you said about Kenneth Walker, for example. There, we know what sort of beast he is. Now, if the defensive line aren't holding up, these secondary guys, they're having to do a lot of the hits. They're having to take a lot of the energy, and it's just like, we've got to click somewhere. We know Wink is a wizard, and we just need it. We need that spark. We need MetLife to be rocking on Monday night, and we need everyone just to be fireworks everywhere, and Pete Carroll to whinge about it after the game's finished, like he normally does. And hopefully we have some decent officiating, because I will put that out there that I think there's been some very, very questionable officiating calls this season already.
Yeah,
It's a very good
something
point
that
you make
we've already touched on quite a few times. Actually, is the officiating this season. It just seems to be an epidemic that's carried on from last year. I don't think that the referees have sort of covered themselves in glory for a few years. Actually, I think the standard of officiating's gone down dramatically. And I'm not sure what it is. And funny enough, it's not even really something that's unique to the NFL. I think refereeing standards in a lot of games, English football is a massive one. Jamie, you've seen championship referees as much as I have. They are a different breed.
It's baffling. I mean, Xavier McKinney he was asked the question, wasn't he, about obviously our issue with tackling. And he couldn't answer it, because ultimately it's almost like you get told off if you question these officials, don't you? You get told, you get the flag thrown in your face. There you go. There's another 10 yards and what have you. And there seems to be no sanction for these officials who continue to make these errors. I mean, where are you meant to hit somebody? If someone's running at you, where is safe and where is correct to hit somebody when he's probably double your weight? And when there's people crossing in front of you, it's almost like it's ruining the sport at times. It's like they want the attention. They're stopping the game, and it's like, where's this call come from? And I think if you ask the vast majority of head coaches, they would say they genuinely don't think that, like you said, that the officiating's improving. It's probably getting worse.
I mean, going back to the pass rush question, Dan. I think one thing that's evident if you look at historical Wink Martindale defenses is that pass rushers don't thrive. It's just a byproduct essentially of what he does. Is it Zadarius Smith who he had at the Ravens? You see what he's gone on to do since Wink left. I mean, absolute monster. And I do wonder if Thibodeau's kind of issues on the pass rush, because let's be honest, on the other side, when you've got Jihad Ward and Boogie Basham, they're not setting the world alight. I would actually be quite happy just to see maybe Isaiah Simmons get a shot over at edge rusher, just to see what happens. I mean, what have we got to lose? We've picked him up for such a small amount of money and such a token kind of draft pick that it makes sense to see what he could offer you in a different position. The whole thing, as Jamie said about Wink, is that he's able to, he's a magician. He can conduct all of these different looks. Why are we not using players in different positions that potentially could make or break a game? And you're right about Dexter Lawrence. Dexter Lawrence has been by far and away our best player yet again. It just doesn't show up because he's being double teamed, triple teamed at any given time. It's not like Big Cat or any of the other defensive linemen are really doing anything to help him out, to kind of take the attention away where they have to go, oh, okay, well, Big Cat's getting through quite a lot, so maybe we need to move to him so Dex can then go through.
I think we're tired. I think, sorry to interrupt, I think, we say about the team being gassed. I think they genuinely are. Like, like we said about in regards to the other side of the ball, if the other side of the ball, we aren't chewing the clock and what have you, it's a continuous cycle where, Dexter Lawrence, or however heavy he is, 300 pounds, wherever it may be, he's just, he's made a big play or he's got 3 linemen on him. He's tired. And all of a sudden, before they know it, they've sat down, they've had a Gatorade or whatever they drink, and they're back up. And again, like you said, is the good thing about Isaiah Simmons, you can't go wrong with changing his thing, because at the end of the day, it benefits him. It's a contract year. So it benefits him if he's, if he all of a sudden produces, say, 5 sacks, or, wow, we've got an Isaiah Simmons that was picked up from the draft out of Clemson and everyone loved him, because ultimately it benefits us, because you can bet your bottom dollar on it the next year in the draft, if we haven't got this key quartet or what have you of edge rushers, we'll be looking to get an edge rusher. Well, we won't need to do that if we can actually use or try and get the best out of Simmons, Jihad Ward, who, he's got a personality that everybody loves, but we just haven't seen the production as of yet on the pitch. On the field. Sorry, I must say on the field. But
It's all good. It's all good.
We, again, like you said earlier on, it's week 4, and there's still a long way to go, and the only way is up. So I think we, as Giants fans, we are positive. We can see what we're trying to do, and I think we'll be good.
Yeah, I think with Wink how he is. I mean, you look at how much we've blitzed this season so far, and it's almost like great, but we're not seeing the end product. And also, our team's like cottoning on to the fact that we're blitzing half the time. Well, probably, yeah, because you look at the amount of times the ball is snapped and the opposing quarterback is getting rid of the ball ASAP. Tibbs hasn't had a chance to get near the quarterback when he is rushing because the ball was out so quickly. And Darius makes a great point there as well. Tibbs is a pass rusher. Let him rush. I mentioned before about the fact he's dropping into coverage 30-40% of the time. And to me, like I said, he is an archetypal 4-3 D end. He reminds you so much of OC. He reminds you so much of Justin Tuck, Michael Strahan, those type of players. Even Jason Pierre-Paul as well. He reminds you so much of those type of players that he just needs to rush the passer. He's an absolute monster when it comes to the ball rush against the offensive line and getting to the quarterback. That we're not utilizing him to his strengths. His strength, he might be good in coverage, but his strength isn't coverage. His strength is rushing the passer. And I absolutely agree as well with you, Darius, and that Isaiah Simmons needs more snaps. He does need more snaps because he's a great talent, and we've picked him up for such it's such a bargain that we got him for that it almost seems criminal that we're not using him more. I mean, yeah, granted, he didn't play particularly well in Arizona, but they didn't really know how to use him. I mean, we've seen where he's good and what he can do and where he's best being used. Why are we not using him? So see, there we go. He's like OC, right? But there's a lot that our defense needs to improve on for sure. And I think if anyone can get this defense humming again and singing off the same hymn sheet, it's Wink, because he's a magician and he can do crazy things. What were you going to say, Jamie? Sorry, mate.
No, and again, it benefits everybody because, like you say, in terms of the units, we've already said that our linebacker core isn't the best. We haven't seen the likes of Bobby Okereke. We haven't seen the best of him yet. But like the whole hand in the dirt sort of thing, get him running off the edge because it creates problems for the offensive line. If they jump, we get 5 yards. It's small gains that at the minute we're not necessarily seeing, and it feels like it's the other way around with obviously the offensive stuttering, we're going further back. But likes of Xavier McKinney and things like these are big players that we know have the ability, but if there's no productivity at the at the top end sort of thing, then these players at the back end aren't going to be showing their skills because unfortunately, the wide receivers are going to be doing their slant routes, they're going to be going deep, and they'll just be right. We'll have 10 yards, we'll have 15 yards, like you said about Metcalf. 15 yards for Metcalf, that you're not going to stop him because 15 yards is small change for him, especially with a man of his size. One-on-one, he'll take anyone out. And again, like I said, is hopefully we've had the break now, haven't we? We've had the extended break, so hopefully we've done our homework. We've had that trip out west, east, west, wherever it was, where we all said that would be tricky. But now we're on our home turf, and there's no excuses. We have to turn up on Monday Night Football, and we have to put a good show in for the fans because at the end of the day, the Big Blue faithful. They are faithful, but there comes a point that they do start asking questions about, it's a results-based business, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've kind of spoken about our defense for so long. I guess we should probably have a look at what Seattle's defense is like.
Yeah, we absolutely should.
So, like the Giants, the Seahawks had a poor run defense last season. However, unlike the Giants, they seem to have fixed their issues this year. 92 yards allowed in week 1, 102 in week 2, and against the Panthers, they only allowed 44 yards on the ground. Wow. Now, last year they played the Panthers and allowed 223 yards on the ground. So that is quite the improvement year on year. Mainly,
go on. Did Carolina have CMC at the time?
It's a good question. It's not one that I actually looked at, to be fair. It's a very good question. I completely forgot that CMC was even there, mainly because of the fact I want to forget he exists.
Yeah, I will have a look at that. Bear me a minute. I'll have a look.
You do that. Now, their improvement on the run defense side is actually mainly down to one reason and one reason only, and that is the returning Bobby Wagner, who spent his kind of off year. Was it with the Rams? I think he was with last year. Now, he has a 91.6 grade against the run on PFF for the season, which is absolutely outstanding. And they actually have edge rusher Uchenna Nwosu, who has a 90 grade as well against the run. So that is a hell of an improvement. On the pass rush side, it's a slow start, actually, for the Seahawks, but it is gaining traction. 0 sacks in their opener. 2 sacks in week 2 and 3 sacks last week, with interior defender Jaron Reed leading the way with 1.5, but he got both of those, or 1.5 against the Panthers. Dan, have you found it?
I have found it, and Christian McCaffrey was not on the team.
Wow! But wow.
It was week 14 last year. Wow. So after the trade deadline. So Chuba Hubbard and Dante Foreman each had 74 yards rushing. And this says a lot. Sam Darnold had 30 yards. Sam freaking Darnold had 30 yards rushing. What's going on with that? So they must have improved. Must have improved for sure. And Bobby Wagner, what a beast he is.
Yeah. I mean, moving into the sort of backfield, the Seahawks' first-round pick, Devin Witherspoon, has been kind of hit and miss, 95 yards and a touchdown and 2 penalties already given up this season. But when you actually look at him in coverage, he's actually not been that bad. Targeted 18 times, he's only allowed 8 receptions and has 3 pass breakups. So it's not awful. Teething problems, as we all know, happen with rookie sort of cornerbacks, but he's potentially something that the Giants could target. Other standout, Trey Brown suffered a concussion against the Panthers and would likely be out against us. However, backup Mike Jackson did come in and was relatively decent when called upon. But their main weak spot could be at safety, where we have the returning Julian Love, who I'm sure Kev is happy he doesn't have to have a little cry moment about thinking about that. His boy. And they've got Quandre Diggs. Now, they played the majority of snaps, but both have been really bad in coverage and, interestingly, tackling, which is one thing that I've seen on Twitter a lot this week, is people going, we need, Julian Love's coming back and we need his tackling. But actually, he's been really quite poor this year with missed tackles. Now, Pete Carroll has said Jamal Adams will make his first appearance of the season. So, safety might be shored up, but he's going to be rusty. I think he tore his pec or something week 1, like very early last season. I can't remember if it was pec or quad. It was one of the two. I know they're very, very different muscles groups between the pec and the quad. So, but that could be a big change. But here's a question for you, Dan. Barkley is considered day-to-day at the moment. Do you risk him against a team that looks like they've improved their run defense, or do you give him more time to recover, even if he is potentially serviceable?
I'll throw back a question at you to answer that question. Do you want to win this game?
It's a good point.
But very fair if you want to win this game, you play 26.
Yeah.
I think don't get me wrong. Matt Breida, Gary Brightwell, Eric Gray, serviceable running backs can do a job, can get 3 yards of carry if needed. Do they set the field alight? No. Do they make any sort of standout plays? No. Do they really? Are they any good in sort of, going out wide as a receiver and making a play downfield? Probably not. Gary Brightwell did last week. Fair play to him. Our mate Gary, he had a fairly decent game. But those three combined are not the threat that Saquon Barkley is. And I don't care what you say about Barkley, whether you agree to him being tagged, whether you agree to him signing a 1-year deal, whether you think he should have left the team, whether you think we should have signed him to a long-term deal. Whatever your opinion is about Barkley, Barkley is a game changer. And whilst we have this game changer on our roster, and if he is fit enough to play the man. Even if it's a reduced amount of snaps he takes, even if he's on the field 50% of the snaps, those 50% of the snaps, we know we have an absolute weapon on the field. And Daniel Jones has his best buddy on the field, because if he, when he needs a check down, if Barkley's there, Barkley's going to do everything he can to make a play. So, but he's got to play. This is week 4, but this is a really, really key game to win, especially the fact that we've got Buffalo, Miami, and Washington all coming up in the next 3 weeks. Now, Buffalo, they've not set the league like recent over the first 3 weeks of the season, but they're the Buffalo Bills. Miami, I mean, what more can we say about Miami than the fact that they scored 70 points last weekend? And even Washington haven't looked horrendous. So we got 3 big games coming up in the next 3 weeks. And if we don't get a win here, we could be staring at a 1-6 record. So, and that is when it gets to 1-6, that is the time when you start thinking, right, trade deadline's coming up. Our schedule isn't looking great. Do we start offloading people? We've got that conversation sort of has been floated before, but you've got to win this game. For me, it's a must win.
Yeah,
it's a must win, and we got to do something on prime time as well. Surely,
you've got a prime time player in Saquon Barkley. It's as simple as that. He makes plays. He again under the MetLife night. It's the sort of person that will get people off their seats. But also, like you say, they have to think about Barkley being there, whether he gets 10 snaps, 20 snaps, or whatever. If Barkley is in contention to play, you have to put him in that team sheet. You have to put him in that lineup, just so it creates that sort of food for thought that they have to cater for Barkley. Again, I think maybe I don't like the snap count malarkey, but I think maybe we have to use him a bit better, because sometimes we literally are. We'd like to talk about our O-line or lack of it. It's almost like we're giving him the hospital pass where, quick, just check it to him, and all of a sudden you're getting everyone smashing him from everywhere, But I think he just brings confidence for everyone else. The likes of Darren Waller, who we probably haven't seen as much as we'd like to at the minute. The likes of Darius Slayton. By Saquon Barkley being active and having reps, he creates holes and chances for everyone else. And I think, like you say, with the upcoming schedule, we can't keep saying, oh, well, do we risk him? Well, no disrespect, but the Bills they're not exactly, they're not wimps. Neither are the Dolphins. They're very physical. And to be honest with you, like you said, we've tagged him. We agreed the deal. We don't want another season going if buts. We need to know, is he the guy going forward for the next 4 years? Or do we need to say, do you know what? This is the second time now, or third time he's had these injuries. It may be just a case of, thank you very much, Saquon. And we don't want that, because Saquon makes plays. Saquon is the man, and Daniel Jones seems to. It's like having a brother next to him. He just when they click, they're great to watch, and we score more than what we score normally. So it's a win-win for me. You've got to play him. You have to play him, and I think a lot of Giants would be saying that now.
What do you reckon, Craig?
I seem to be making a habit of this at the moment, but I'm very much kind of on the other side at the moment. And there's a good reason behind it, is that I think the second half of our schedule is easier than the first half of our schedule. There's no doubt about it if you look at it on paper. And yes, the game is not played on paper, but if you do look at it and you look at what we do have coming up with, the Bills and Miami is just a horrible, horrible twosome to start going up against. Yeah. And I just wonder if you look at it in 2 different ways. Do you take a not 100% healthy Saquon Barkley and put him into a game where potentially it takes the rest of the season potentially for him to get good enough up to a point where he can play to his full potential? Or do you go, okay, we need to manage him better and maybe take him out of the lineup this week and next week to protect the player himself, and then go, right, we've got him back at 100% where he is full go. And I'm talking like, full speed Barkley that we've seen before. And we saw it in bits last season. I just wonder if, for the sacrifice, and I'm just spitballing and making numbers up here, but for the sacrifice of maybe an injury that could cost him 2-3 miles per hour per rush, do you take the risk to play him and have him on a slower sort of burst, or do you rest him and go for the faster burst? That's me playing devil's advocate for a minute there and kind of saying, I get it, and yeah, you always want your best players out there. I mean, hell, hopefully we should have arguably our second best player on offense in Andrew Thomas back this week, which would be a massive plus as well. I just don't know. The dreaded high ankle sprains are just horrible, aren't they? And it's really hard to call. And, at first we were fed, oh, it's an ankle sprain. And then Barkley comes out himself and says, oh, it's a high ankle sprain. And it changes the narrative completely. Yeah, it just changes the narrative completely, because that word high, you go, balls, that's not really as good as we first thought it was going to be.
Yeah. I mean, I understand your perspective, and I get, do you really... I mean, there is that word. There's that term. Do you risk? There's that fine line between risk and reward.
Yeah.
And it's like, do you risk him? And then Steve DJ's more. I mean, yeah, limit Saquon. Don't necessarily. He's been playing 3 downs over those first 3 weeks. I mean, Matt Breeder's barely seen the ball, barely been on the field. Our mate Gary's barely been on the field. Barkley's been playing a high percentage of snaps. So it's like, limit his involvement in the game just for this week, and just, see how it goes, and don't maybe necessarily put so much pressure or go to him so often. Just sort of see how that angle is. And, and if it turns out that it's not as good as we hoped, then right, pull him from the game before he does it any more damage, rather than don't play him at all and run the risk of falling flat on our faces like we did last week against San Francisco. Because, I mean, yeah, granted, on paper the schedule looks easier the second half of the season, but we've not got a bye week to the beginning of December, and that's through 12 weeks.
Yeah.
By the time he gets to the bye week, looking at the schedule, Jets, Commanders games favourable, Raiders maybe, that they're a bit hit and miss. Patriots at home, obviously we hope we win that game, because that's where we're going to be. We're going to be there. So, if hopefully, you're hoping for 6-7 wins by the time you get to the bye. If you're going to sit Barkley over the next 2-3 weeks in these big games, Seattle, Miami, and Buffalo, you can pretty much chalk them off as losses. And then you look in bye week, you're looking to hopefully be 500, and then coming out of the bye, you've then got some Eagles twice, Green Bay at home on Monday night, which the way they've been playing, who knows? On the road at New Orleans, again, they've been a little bit of a surprise this season so far. And then you got a game at home to the Rams on New Year's Eve, which, Matt Stafford is Matt Stafford. The Rams are the Rams. Cooper Kupp will probably be back by then. Puka Nacua is setting the league at light. There's no guarantee you're winning those games either. So it's such a fine line with Barkley this week. I think for me, it's just, if he's available and if he's good to go, play him. But I get the hesitation for sure, and it's going to be a game time decision, really, isn't it? It's probably going to come down to Monday, right? Let's see how he is through after the weekend. Give him, and let's go from there.
So on that, do we go through what we should do to win then, Dan?
I think we should. Yeah. What have Big Blue got to do to win? Well, one of the big issues last week was, defensively, was getting off the field on third downs. Allowed 9 of 16 third down conversions, with some of those coming on 3rd and 15, 3rd and 13, and 3rd and 9 as well, which went for a touchdown. Against the Panthers, the Seahawks were 1 for 8 in the first half and 0 and 3 in the red zone on third down. They did clear up their red zone issues in the second half, but third downs were 3 for 13 overall. So the fact that they didn't do so well on third downs last week shows that maybe we've got some hope that they won't convert on third downs this week. But who knows? We've got to take advantage and get off the field. The defense has got to step up. I want to see some 3 and outs. I want to see some big plays on defense. I want to see a fucking turnover. Just something, just that little spark, something to happen on defense to go, you know what, our defense is back.
I think it's infectious, though, isn't it? That we've been told that they're a close-knit unit, and we've got all these captains, and they're well thought of and stuff like that, and it's great. But at points, you've got to bring that off the field stuff onto the field. And, like you say, it's very infectious. If one person makes a tackle for loss, they're all jumping on each other. They're ready. They've got that extra 5% adrenaline. But unfortunately for us, we've done something, and then we've compounded that with like a false start or whatever it may be. So it's like, we've got to be consistent. I think that's the problem for me is like you say there, it frustrates me when you can sort of think, oh, they're 3 and 9, and you're kind of conceding the fact they're probably going to get 3 and 15. They're going to go first down. They're going to, and I think that's what you say is we struggle to get off the field on third down. We struggle to do it because it's like the drive keeps going. And you just hope there's a game plan, because I think we've seen the first few weeks who's making the calls, who's doing what. The whole, is it Dayball, is it Kafka? And it's like, well, we don't bloody know. We're never going to know. But what is clear to see is sometimes I don't think the players know. It's not transpiring on the field as much as it is. There's a few drop passes, which you could say, they're good options. But then there's some glaring errors, missed tackles, like you say, and that comes down to technique. That comes down to individuals then. And I think we've, especially in the media over in New York, I've been reading a few reports, and there's a few players like McKinney, like Adoree Jackson, who are expected to do big things, because at the end of the day, they are captains, they are leaders in the locker room, but they're not stepping up and making big plays. And like you said about, you don't have to be a big name. Look at, like you said about Puka up in, down in Rams. You don't have to be a first round draft pick to make big plays. We see that with our 7th round pick. He's one of our better defensive players this year, because he's making that impression. He's got everything to win. He's got everything to achieve. But like you say, players need to come together. They need to sing off that same hymn sheet, and they need to start making plays, because unfortunately, plays win games.
Yeah, man. And defensively, you made the point about tackling. We need to sort out tackling out, because that was a huge reason as to why San Francisco converted so many of their third downs that they had. So there's a lot to work on defense. We know that, but another, player to watch out on the other side of the ball, Seattle's offense. Adam Thielen had a game last week. 11 receptions, 145 yards and a touchdown, 62 snaps, and lined up in the slot on 75% of those against Seattle. So it's like, our passing wise, we can really do some damage on their pass defense. Julian Love, he's allowed a league leading 292 yards in coverage, which is 42 yards more than any other defender in the league. There's a weakness right there. We know Julian Love. We know him very, very well. And the fact he's been exploited so far, can we exploit him even more? Why not? Go after them, like Darius said, feed Waller, feed Jalen Hyatt.
Yeah.
Jalen, if anyone could do some damage for, deep downfield, it's Jalen Hyatt. His speed alone is scary. Offensively, we need to take advantage in that passing game. Like I said, the Seahawks ranked 31st in the league in passing yards allowed, an average of 328 yards per game. Only the Chargers have allowed more yards through the air, but to allow DJ to get the ball downfield, we've got to give him time. And surprise, surprise, that means the O-line has to step up. And I mean, I don't think there's ever been a week where we've reviewed or previewed a game that we haven't talked about the bloody O-line. And I'm not going to go into it now. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to go into it now. But they need to step up. And having Andrew Thomas and Ben Bredesen back on that line, returning from injury, it could be a huge, huge thing for us. And as mentioned, Barkley's day-to-day, cornerback Deontay Banks had a arm injury. He's going to be fine to play. Is there any other updates to the injury report, Craig?
There's injury report came out not long ago, actually, about 20 minutes ago. Bredesen, concussion is full participant, so he's shaken that off, so that's good. Limited Andrew Thomas hamstring, Azeez Ojulari hamstring, DJ Davidson with an elbow, which to no surprise. Daniel Bellinger with a neck injury appeared on there, so hopefully that's just management. And then Barkley with his ankle, so a much shorter injury list than we've had in previous seasons, and also shorter than last week. So
nice. It's looking hopeful. It's looking hopeful for all of them, really. And what use those slot receivers, Paris Campbell, Wan'Dale Robinson, Sterling Shepard, use them, because, like I said, that their coverage, isn't great. So utilize the weapons that we got, and passing the ball will help to set up the run as well. As much as running the ball helps to set up the passing game. They interchange. No more than dink and dunk. Yeah, throw it downfield, launch it. Dan Jones has got a gun on him, so launch it. And lead that receiver into the pass. Don't underthrow him, so they have to sort of stutter and hold back and wait. Just there's so much more this offense can do, and there's so much more. It's almost like they're running on like 10% at the moment. There's so much potential for this offense. We've discussed at length in the preseason the weapons we have on this offense, but it's so crucial. What is so crucial is that offensive line. And as much as we hate talking about it and hate bitching and moaning and whining and whatever about it, it's so crucial. It's so crucial. So, two questions.
Play action. Let's not forget about Daniel Jones' mobility as well, because we know we didn't see him last week. And Daniel Jones, when he extends plays, he creates problems. And like you say, I think Wan'Dale Robinson running through the slot, we're going to have that stigma with him is we haven't seen the best of Wan'Dale Robinson. We don't want him to be that player that we drafted over somebody else and so on and so forth. But DJ, I'm hoping Monday night we see a lot of play action, a few rushing touchdowns. That's what I'm going to predict. A few rushing touchdowns for DJ. And we just start, firing flames down the pitch, and we are the Giants. We're Giants by name, Giants by nature. Let's start playing like them.
That's it. All right. So Thomas and Bredesen returning is huge, right? So you surely got to expect this to be a bit of an improved performance this week on the offense, and not just on the offense, but on the offensive line, Craig.
100%. I don't know if anyone's seen any of the interviews across the week that the Giants players have been doing. Just quickly before I answer the question, I just want to touch on Josh Azudu had a few videos come up on Twitter.
What a lad!
He speaks really openly, especially about his friendship with Marcus McKethan, and it looks like McKethan is going to be taking that right guard spot next to Evan Neal, Bredesen next to Andrew Thomas, and obviously Schmitz. Who, I feel like we don't mention Schmitz enough, but also I think that's a good thing as well, because if you're not talking about him, then he's doing his job. But going back to these Azudu videos, I highly recommend going to check them out, not purely just for the way that he talks about, how he can improve and how his friendship with McKethan has really helped them both thrive and come to the forefront, especially seeing as they were teammates in college. But one thing that always stands out to me is the fact that Azudu has a speech impediment where he has a stutter, and he's not scared to come in front of those cameras, and he persists. And the reporters are not, they're respectful and they're patient with him, and he gets his point across. But I think that there's a lot to be said about a player who's not afraid to kind of own his disability and inspire others. I just wanted to touch on that in the terms of our offensive line, especially with Azubu.
100%.
You know, he's only a
100%.
second-year player, and I think that shows great maturity from him. To answer the question, it is massive. To get them to back in the lineup is absolutely huge, and I think Thomas is such an underrated cog, probably not just as a pass protector, but also as a confidence boost for the rest of the line. I think if you just see a stalwart like him on the side there, somebody who I believe he's a captain as well, it just makes the world of difference confidence-wise.
Mate, you see 7-8 on the line, you know, oh, all right, left side is locked down, you know, nobody's getting past him on the edge. All right, Jamie, secondly then, the fact that Adam Thielen took so much advantage of that Seahawks secondary, do Campbell and Wandale get more of the ball? Or even Shep even? Do they see more of the ball?
They have to. I'm all for sharing the portion of the receptions around. You can never have too many fat mouths to feed, because ultimately, I think everyone knows that Waller is one of our main threats. You just said about Hyatt with his speed, and they can sort of preempt that, can't they, with their game plans and stuff like that. So having, Shep on his day without injuries is unbelievable. We've seen that, and that's why we love him so much. Paris Campbell's rapid, so he can do that. But it just creates sort of issues for the defense. Like you said, Jamal Adams is coming back. He's not going to be fully fit. Julian Love, we saw the best of him and the worst of him, so we know what he's like. Hell yeah, just give it to different people. Quick, get it out, see it to different people, and let's see some attractive football being played.
100%. All right, then it's prediction time, and as usual, I'm up first. So it's a tough game but I think our pass rush comes good. In terms of, we start seeing some numbers, we start seeing some tackles for loss, we start seeing some sacks, we start seeing some penetration up front on the defensive side of things, and Geno Smith, does Geno Smith things, and maybe throws the odd interception here or there. And the return of Andrew Thomas and Ben Bredesen shores up that O-line that little bit, and gives DJ some more time that he needs in the pocket to make those plays downfield. Don't get me wrong, I don't think it's going to be it's not going to be a one-sided game. I think it's going to be a close, tight game. I think it's going to be low scoring. I've gone Giants win 23-17. Let's get that dub. Next up, I believe, is Kev. He sent his prediction into us earlier. He's also gone for a Giants win, 24-21. He thinks it's going to be a field goal game. That's a nice little tight one. Graham Gano walk off. I'll take that. Mr. Pessimistic as ever, Shane. Evening, Shane, if you're watching, has gone for a 27-17 Seahawks win. Shocking. Producer Craig, your prediction?
I hate this. I keep changing my mind. I've got 30-29 to the Seahawks at the moment.
What score is that?
It's happened. It's happened. Funny enough, I love looking at scoregami. I'm like obsessed with scoregami at the moment. Nice. And the first time 30-29 ever happened was the Giants Cowboys back in '86, I think it was. Because I always have a look and make sure that I'm not being an idiot and coming up with something that's happened once ever. The thing is I keep flip-flopping, and I could quite easily see this being 30-29 the other way. I just can't do a half and half.
The prediction's there on the screen now.
It is, so, and I have to own it.
You've got to own it.
I don't know. It just seems. It almost seems like the perfect storm to have a shootout between the two teams, and I just feel like if Barkley doesn't go, that's the way it will fall. Now we have some listener predictions and some non-predictions. Jamie,
we'll get the listener prediction in. Should we get the listener predictions in and finish off with Jamie's?
Yeah, go on then. So first of all, we had Darius, who said, "Evening, lads."
I can't give a prediction because the Giants must earn their respect back. But in any case, we must win this game. I like that. I mean, I'm hoping you're predicting a Giants win, Darius. But they do need to earn some respect. I get that. So, but thanks for your non-prediction. Steve's 31-24 G-men. Get in, Steve. Any others? Was it just those two?
Just those two at the moment.
Just those two. No problems. All right, Jamie. Last but not very no means least, prediction for the game, mate.
28-24 in favor of the Giants.
Yeah.
Monday Night Football. We bounce back, guys. We bounce back.
28-24. Mate, a win's a win. I'll take it no matter how, whether it's by a point, whether it's by 6 that I've predicted. A win's a win. Just incidentally as well, just had a quick look at the spread for the game. Currently is a 1-point spread in favor of the Giants, so it's very, very tight. And generally the home team gets 3 points, so it's almost slightly in favor of the Seahawks because they're on the road and it's a 1-point spread. But that's changed a lot over the course of the week as well. So I'm sure it'll change again before Monday night gets here. Right. Unfortunately, that is all we've got time for this week. However, we will be back on Tuesday evening, possibly Wednesday evening.
Wednesday, I think we've been able
Wednesday
to sort
evening.
it out. As you can imagine, with the way that we've all got work and everything, sometimes it comes up to the wire. Even this evening, Kev was hoping to be on and he couldn't, and luckily we've been able to get Jamie on tonight, which has been really good. I think the points you've made, Jamie, and the conversations flowed really, really well. And it's been nice to have another opinion. So.
Absolutely, mate. It's been a pleasure having you on, mate. We've got Shane as a Brummie, we've got Kev is dulcet Irish tones, and we've now got a man from Welsh Wales to call a podcast guest and friend, and hopefully get you back on another time, mate.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you for having me on, guys. It's like I say, it's always great to talk football, and like you said, at the end of the day, it's great when men talk as well, because that is what it's all about, guys.
Couldn't agree more, mate. Couldn't agree more. So we'll be back Wednesday evening, usual time, 8:30 p.m. Shane Brummie, he'll have me for that. Yeah, I know he will. I know he will, Steve. Smashed it, Jamie. Smashed it. Well done, mate. Usual time, 8:30 Wednesday evening. So make sure you join us then. We will review the Seahawks game. And we're hoping for a win and reviewing a game that we win. Anything else to add before we go, guys?
No, just week 4's here. Where's the season going already?
How are we in week 4?
I know, and I just want to say a massive kudos to all 3 of us for making it through the entire episode up until now without mentioning Taylor Swift.
Oh,
no comment.
No comment. Yeah,
no comment. I mean, the meme that's done the rounds this week, the fact that the Dolphins score 70 points in a game, and the biggest talking point is the fact that Taylor Swift turns up to the Chiefs game, is an absolute outrage, in my opinion.
Let's not forget we have the Cardinals beat the Cowboys. We have the Colts beat the Ravens. In overtime. And all everyone's talking about is the fact that if any lip readers out there were able to tell that Taylor Swift swore when Travis Kelce caught a touchdown.
Oh my God! Nobody cares. I mean, at least we don't care anyway.
No.
Yeah. I mean, I was never going to mention her anyway, but hey, there we go. But yeah, massive thanks to you, Jamie, for joining us this evening. I hope you've enjoyed it. It's been great to have you on, and I hope, like I said, we'll hopefully get you back on in future as well. If you haven't already, hit the bell, subscribe to the channel, get the latest new updates and notifications. Check out our Etsy shop, etsy.com/BigBlueUKIRL, to get yourself some sweet podcast merchandise, including we've had t-shirts on in the past, and there's hats, there's hoodies, there's Lots of different things on there. So, get yourself some pod merch. Show us some love. We really appreciate it if you could spend your hard-earned pennies on some of our merchandise. Seahawks Giants under the Monday night lights. 2-2. Can it be true, lads? My thanks as ever go to Jamie and to producer Craig for joining me. To you, the viewers and listeners, for tuning in. We're signing off until next time. Go Giants.